What is up, you guys? Welcome to the final installment of the Let's Get Physical series. I hope you've been enjoying it so far. I know I've been enjoying recording it. It's been a lot of fun. And I think that it's really awesome because you're getting info that's going to give you confidence on your journey. And, with all of the messages we get on a daily basis, and even messages we've gotten since we've been, little or we've grown up, I think that it's so empowering to have that information and to give you what you need so that you can get to where you want to go and do it in a way that makes you feel good and supports you in your health. So, today we are talking about maintenance. So, how we're going to maintain what we achieved either out of the fat loss goal or the muscle building goal that we set out to achieve, or basically just any kind of goal, how we can maintain what we've done so far. So, really, this is going to make up the majority of our training lifespan because maintenance is where your body feels safe. It's your body's normal. So, it's a really good idea to incorporate this into the majority of what your year looks like. If you would take your training and break it down into a year, this is what it's going to look like. It is majority maintenance, and then your sprinkles of a goal, maybe in body composition, or maybe you have a goal to run a marathon or something like that. But maintenance is going to be the bulk of your year. So, some things to consider. We had talked about both fitness and nutrition in the fat loss and the muscle building series. So, what fitness is going to look like for you in the maintenance phase is having those weights that you've trained with thus far that are going to kind of give you that comfort level. Once you've built that muscle, it's going to be easy to keep the size if you stay consistent. Now, that doesn't have to mean lifting heavy. So, you're going to probably consider weights that are in the, I would say, 8, depending on where you got in your muscle building training. I would say from your 8 pounds to probably that 15 pound, maybe even the 20 pound area. That's what you're going to stay consistent with. So, it's going to be enough to stimulate the muscles, but we're not encouraging growth at this point because once you build the muscle, it's going to remain as long as it's remaining stimulated. So even if you're incorporating some body weight workouts, just something to keep that up, to keep up with that endurance. So you're probably going to be looking at a lot of higher reps and lower sets. That's probably the area you're going to be focusing on, just to kind of keep things, again, like I said, stimulated. So, as far as nutrition goes, we're not going to be talking about deficits or surpluses or anything. It's really going to be just what makes your body feel good. So, it's going to revolve around your BMR to an extent, but it's actually what the real calculation will be if you're staying consistent with your physical activity, which I highly encourage, is going to be your TDEE calculation. So your total daily energy expenditure calculation. So it's going to consider your physical activity. So whatever that number looks like to you, generally you can gauge it by the way your body feels because it's going to feel safe, it's going to feel nourished, it's going to have, again, you're not going to be in that feeling where you're craving things or, just that you're starving or you're lacking in any way. You're going to feel good. And everything, all of those indicators and those markers that we talked about, like the body temperature, the pulse, your menstrual cycle, your stress hormones, that type of thing, all of that should be pretty balanced. In fact, the maintenance is that homeostasis we talked about and that balance that we talked about. So, really focusing on just staying in that safety with nutrition when it comes to that. So, really gauge it again on what your activity level is and try to get that TDEE number. That's really going to help you gauge what that's going to look like. So, some extra things to consider that I want to make mention of because it's going to be a big indicator of results across the board, whether you have that fat loss goal, that building muscle goal, or just maintenance. really take in these factors into consideration. Number one is going to be stress management. I don't think it's talked about enough. I think we all recognize and we're aware that there's stress, but I think we've almost come to the point where we think it's a normal occurrence. And I don't think that there's such thing as completely eliminating stress. I think that we all will feel it to a degree, but I think there's such thing as stress management. So finding ways to really make sure that we're decreasing that in any way we can. I know what helps for me is diving into my faith, so listening to Christian music or listening to a podcast or reading a devotional or my Bible. A lot of other things that encourage me are spending time with my family and the people I love, or even having a bath. Like, baths are amazing, and reading books, coffee, whatever it is that you just, it just is that feel good feeling. Try to make incorporations of that into your life and make sure there are ways that feed your soul and your heart as well. As much as self-care is nice, when you incorporate those baths and lighting those candles, they're not going to dive deep into that soul. So do something that's really going to make an impact on your inner health as well. Sleep is another one. It's super important. Your rest and recovery, that is when it's all really going to be optimized, is when you're sleeping. So if you're missing out on those hours, you're missing out on recovery. So try your best to incorporate good sleep practices and sleep routines and do your best. Something that I want to mention that has been a life changer for me, mind you, I've done it for most of my life because I get hungry during the night. And when I get hungry during the night, I get very upset. But something that I have always incorporated in my life, but now has become more apparent of how important it is to have something before you go to bed. And maybe you've heard some kind of myth that it's bad to eat after a certain time. I can tell you right now it's not true. And that I do encourage you to have something before you go to sleep, because that is a time of fasting and your body is actually making processes. And if it has something in it, it's going to feel, again, safe. So it's not going to wake you up in the middle of the night and you're not going to have disturbed sleep. And I can testify to this, that if I don't have something to eat, my sleep is terrible. Of course, this isn't the end all be all solution for poor sleeping. I know that there are other factors to consider, but I can promise you that if you have something, definitely a carb and a protein before bed, my favorite is to have orange juice and Greek yogurt. They are like the best combination before bed. But just put those into your body, and I promise you, your body will thank you. And you're actually going to find that you're going to have deeper and better sleeps. So another one is mindset. And I know that this is always kind of a work in progress, and this is something I don't want you to feel pressured by. Don't think that it has to be perfect and that things are always going to go perfectly and you're just going to reach this place and this peak where just it's smooth sailing, because it's always going to be a learning process for us. Perspectives and everything, they always change. There's circumstances that we have to consider. There's just so many factors. But mindset is so important. So making sure that you're staying aware of how you're feeling, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and just having that honest conversation with yourself about where you're at, how things are really going and how you're feeling about things. If you feel like you're in a good place, if you feel like you're in a bad place, if that is a bad place, why do you feel that way? What can you do to kind of, change things up? And not being hard on yourself. It is so crucial and critical to have grace for yourself, because there is nothing that depletes motivation more than putting pressure on yourself and being hard on yourself. So give yourself grace. And, there's going to be times where maybe things aren't working as well as you had hoped. But again, focus on what is here and now. There are seasons in life and nothing will ever reach perfection. So don't put that pressure on yourself. So that actually makes up the bulk of what I wanted to talk about in this episode. I know it's a bit of a shorter one, but that doesn't make it less important. It is just as important. In fact, it's probably the most important. But it's really a time of getting to just enjoy movement and getting used to your new normal and just feeling good and safe and balanced and healthy and just it's just such a nice phase. And I think it's so important that we really enjoy that maintenance phase because it can tend to feel like it has no purpose, but it does. And find ways to enjoy it and find things that you love to do and, make those moments really count. So, I hope that this series was helpful for you. And please give me feedback. Please let me know what resonated with you most and maybe what you'd like to hear about more. I would love to know. And I so appreciate you being here. So appreciate you listening to the very final episode. Means so much to me. And let me know if you have any questions, if there's any way I can help you on your journey. I know you're out there kicking major butt and that you've got this. I'm so excited for you, and I'm here cheering you on always. Until next episode.